So we are live. Um, Hello, everybody, from wherever you're watching this video right now. Um, my name is Mike, as most of you already know from Ojura Soft, the company behind Setlin. And here with me is my colleague and business partner, Paul. Some of you may have watched the video before now. We're going to be talking about the basic rights in Germany that you should know as a foreigner. Um, Paul is going to start with an overview about these, really taking you from the basic concepts that you really understand how things function in Germany. And then we dive into more specific details. But what's even more interesting is that you can ask questions as we progress. I try to check the questions across the different streaming platforms and then respond to them as we progress. So I encourage you to pay attention as we discuss, especially if you are already living in Germany. If you plan to move to Germany, this is also important for you. Why? Because in no time you're going to be in Germany. And I think the best thing that you can do for yourself is that you get the right information before you come to Germany, because the type of information you get also influence your expectation and your overall experience. And really, this is what we are all about here. Um, Towards the end of the show, I'm also going to introduce or announce also um, the next big thing which is coming up also from us collectively, and I think you should stay until the end. So now I would like my friend Paul to introduce himself briefly, and we can get onto the show. Hi, Paul.
Hi, Mike, and hello, everybody who's joining here tonight. I'm pleased that I can contribute here in that panel for the basic rights in Germany for foreigners specifically.
Yeah, great. Paul, maybe you could start and tell us a bit briefly about yourself so people can just understand who you are.
Yeah, I can do so. As I said, I'm Paul. I know Mike. I know you since 10 years. That was almost the same time when you came to Germany. I was moving back
Correct.
from Germany to Germany when I was living abroad before. And yeah, we met as friends, but I was always there also to give you some legal consultation whenever there was questions, because that's my background. I was studying law here in Germany, and I made my bar examinations here, and I'm registered as a lawyer in Berlin. So always following up what you do with your great network you founded here. So you asked me whether I can give your listeners like a little overview for the basic rights, and yeah, I was arranging a little presentation here for you guys, like for 15, 20 minutes to try to give you an overview of what I was studying for more than 4 years, and which I was practicing for a couple of years too. So it ain't an easy challenge, but yeah, I was trying to make it sensible for you to just have an idea of what we headlined here as basic rights in Germany.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much, Paul. So once more, guys, as we proceed, feel free to send in your questions. We're going to attend to them much later, like towards halfway into the event. So we will proceed now. So, Paul, let's go.
Yeah, so I would appreciate if I can start with my little presentation here. And when
Sure.
Mike was asking me to join that today, I was seeing the headline of basic rights in Germany, and I was immediately aware that we have a little translation issue here, because basic rights could mean so much when you translate that from English to German, or when you try to translate the German legal terms into English. There is always difficulties to translate accurate enough. And I just want to start with a little example of the legal terms in Germany, which also make every German wonder what they could mean once they're not lawyers. And there's one good example. I don't know how far your German is advanced to understand at all what I mean, but there's, for example, one monstrous term which is Fortsetzungsfeststellungsinteresse, which takes me like 2-3 seconds to pronounce that word, which you might translate as continued determination interest. But yeah, either in German as in English, it's just kind of not understandable.
Yeah.
So that was just my introduction into the translation issue I have seen here, because I'm not also not a professional lecturer for German law. So I wanted to start with that and come back to that question when we talk about the meaning of basic rights. So yeah, I was introducing myself shortly before. As I told you, I was studying in Berlin, and after our studies we have to practice like for 2 years in court, in public prosecution, in law firms, to finally be registered as a lawyer here and have another examination. And yeah, luckily I was proceeding to all of that, and I'm registered here as a lawyer. But I want to tell you a bit more of my personal history, because after a few years working here, I decided to move and live abroad in the island of Mauritius, that small island in the Indian Ocean, where I also started a business, which was a supermarket. And maybe I can say that in advance too, because within our studies, I never really understood why the German legal system would be so appreciated. And our lecturers always told us that we're living with a treasure here, with our constitution, that this offers a lot of benefits for us. And I was never really seeing where that affects my individual life and my individual benefit. But then, yeah, I was telling you I was moving abroad and starting a business there in Mauritius, and which was working out quite well. We were running a small supermarket until we kind of developed tensions with one of our business partners, who was very well connected in that small society there. And yeah, he arranged that one day the police knocked at our door and confiscated all our liquor we were selling there. And we were legally in the possession of a liquor selling license. So we've been fighting and appealing on all those governmental measurements to ruin our business. And meanwhile, we were fighting there. We've seen the police drinking our whiskey, like literally in their backyard. And this was maybe one of the moments where I first time understood what parts of the legal system here and of our constitution and the state of law can often provide to me as an individual, to my family, and to my business. Finally, it offers or provides me safety and security. And that was the moment in my life where I was moving back to Germany. I was leaving my business and my life there with my family. I found it there too, and appreciated and understood the merit of a state of law where you can appeal on what the government does to you. So this is what I still experience. We're having some disruptions here and there, but we're living in a state of law. And this is one part of my presentation I want to start now, coming closer to the basic rights, where I want to focus on that. You guys maybe see the whole construction of that state of law and of some other golden principles our constitution and our legal system offers to us here.
Yeah.
Okay, so I like to continue then to come back to the headline here, to the basic rights in Germany. And I want to just kind of define what we are talking about here, because they are the basic rights, and I understand basic rights here now as your individual, your formal, your simple, or your civil rights. That's also translations from German to English, but we got all those terms for different rights we are having. And then we also have our fundamental rights, which is like worldwide seen maybe human rights, but we call them fundamental rights, or in German Grundrechte, which are in Article 1 to 19 of our constitution. And I want to make clear here today that every individual basic right you get emerges somehow from our fundamental rights and some other fundamental principles I want to introduce you in to make it just as a whole picture. Because when you look at every single individual right, you will see that this is an impact of the fundamental rights or our fundamental
Yeah.
principles. And so the constitution here in Germany, I don't want to bother you with that for a long time, but it's like the basic of everything else, and every legal every law you will be confronted with. And just to give you a short idea of what the main idea of our constitution was when that was designed, and it was designed after World War II by also the forces of the powers who were occupying Germany at that time, like US, France, and England. And Russia was not involved in that for Western Germany, but the only aim was to learn from history, from German history, and it was meant to avoid the abuse of power. That is the main background of our constitution we designed after World War II. And this constitution has, in the first chapter, like our fundamental rights. Probably you heard of some of them because they are corresponding to the human rights, like the human dignity is Article 1 of our constitution. And I just want to name a few, like your personal freedom, the freedom of speech, the freedom of peaceful gathering. But I want to focus on two articles today, which are good examples of how our fundamental rights generate or emerge your individual rights. And this is Article 12. We got the freedom of labor, and Article 14 which deals with ownership or property. And before I come back to them, also in our constitution, we got our basic principles. And I want to close a circle later to make you understand why I talk about them. We've got that fundamental rights, and we got three, I call them golden principles, which is the principle of democracy. I will come back to at the very end here, the principle of state of law. I was already talking a bit about it. And now I want to focus on the principle of the state of welfare we're living in here, because in my opinion, or what I experienced with a lot of newcomers in Germany, we should create awareness of the system we're living in, and especially that social welfare system, which is a key part of integration here and of understanding why, for example, you're also bothered with a lot of democracy in Germany, with a lot of paperwork. But this is all just, Mike, if you want to add something.
I'm just saying exactly. I think it makes sense that one can also understand why there are a lot of bureaucracies and also paperwork in Germany. Go on, Paul.
Yeah, and this is kind of my aim too, to create a bit of understanding for you. And I see a lot of immigrants here being frustrated after a very short period of time. But maybe after longer periods of time, there will be the moment where you understand why you've been going through all that paperwork. And second part, which I see as very important to make every new citizen understand here, is that we are also part of the state of social welfare is the taxation system here. That Germany doesn't have any mentionable natural resources, and Germany is as well not that attractive for foreigners. When you look at the weather, when you look at the food, and it's not that attractive, and especially it's not attractive for investors or foreigners to come here because we ain't no tax paradise. But instead, everything here is based on our progressive tax system, which means this tax system is like kind of the foundation of the social welfare state, and it's a principle of solidarity. So just to give you an example, like once you make a good career here, you've got a high income, and I want to say like 120,000 euros, for example, you can pay
Yeah.
up to 42% of your income as taxes. And I was just calculating a bit yesterday and wondered, okay, 35 years of work, and by 50,000 is almost 2 million euros I pay during my whole career as taxes. So it's very important to live with that fact and to understand why. And that's a system of solidarity and social welfare, and to understand that what impact that has is that every infrastructure in Germany, every road, every street light, everything you use as infrastructure is paid and owned by every taxpayer. So once you're
Mm-hmm.
part of that system paying taxes, you're the owner of that country, more or less.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we share that as the community of 80 million people. And so it's interesting to understand the background of why we've got that tax system, and compared to other countries, we are
Mm-hmm.
depending on well, good economy and on our tax system, because or else we wouldn't have any other resources.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So now I want to become a bit more concrete what that social welfare system means for you and your individual rights. And
Mm-hmm.
I was just creating another word, because once you arrive here in Germany, you might assume or think that the German society takes a lot of plenty of risk when you see that we are driving without speed limits on the highways, and you've got riskful hobbies like free climbing, parachuting, and stuff. So people might think that we love to take risk, but it's the opposite, that we try to avoid risk by
Mm-hmm.
having insurance for every single action you take here, for
Yeah.
every single thing you do. We are having insurances for. And two of the main or most interesting insurances in Germany are the health insurance and the social insurance. So that means you are obligated to have a health insurance, to have social insurance. And from those obligations, which are part of the social welfare states, you gain your rights of
Yeah.
free medical care, of getting social welfare like monetarily once you're unemployed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So this is just kind of the connection of that the principles of social welfare and your own rights and obligations.
Yeah.
Rights always
Yeah.
come with obligations, so you don't have
Yeah.
really free health care. But in our system of solidarity, everybody pays also on the wage of his income, and so this is that principle.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea behind it too is, and that can become a bit more important for you later, and once you want to have further rights in Germany, the more you contribute, or the expectation from the government is that you contribute in the social welfare system by paying your insurances,
Mm-hmm.
and then you will
Mm-hmm.
be in favor of it, and you will receive back once you're in need of it. Once you get to go to the hospital, once you're unemployed, you will get back what you
Yeah.
paid in before. And
Mm-hmm.
that's, yeah, some kind of also result of the social welfare
Yeah.
system.
Yeah. So,
And
Paul, I
maybe,
think
yeah,
interestingly, so while you were just talking about that, someone sent in a comment asking if you could elaborate more on the right of welfare, and in what way does this apply to our work environment or place of work, and asking if there are some things that we should be aware of, um, in the welfare and the work. Well, um, so I think before Paul, I let Paul just touch on that. I guess just like Paul was mentioning, now it's also the first there's the obligation, and then there's the rights which you are then entitled to. And yeah, good thing you also sent in this question, because he put also top on the list. The two of them are the health insurance and also the social welfare. So, like for you, I take it that you're someone who works in Germany. So while you're working, you're also contributing to the system. You're paying your tax, and then this also entitles you to some of these welfare as someone who is working. But more concretely, I think when you say to elaborate, we could talk about so many things. But if there's something more specific that you would like us to touch on, maybe we could try that. Your question is if there are some things we need to be aware of in terms of these rights of welfare in the work. Um, Paul, you have something you would like to say on that?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because health insurance and social insurance are also embedded in that whole or in a point I will come back to later on, like the freedom of labor. So your employer is also obligated to the commenter maybe knows about it, is obligated to pay half of their different regulations, to pay half of your health insurance and half of your social insurance. So this is maybe one interesting other point, that this is split in a way by your employer and the employee. And when you ask us about what, or that's also the difference in between, like, or like an economical problem here, that there's a huge black market in every field where the employers and the companies don't really want to have a formal working contract, because this is obligating the employer, the company you're working for, to take care of your health and your social insurance. And this
Mhm,
is more
mhm.
cost for them than to employ you without that. And
Yeah.
that black market in work is also a big issue in Germany in the meantime, because that's one part why I'm trying to explain all of that. By not working in the black market, you contribute into the whole system. It's not just that you would have, that you see you have got the extra expenses, health and social insurance and taxes, but also you contribute into the solidarity system. And yeah,
Mhm.
maybe for some people who haven't been to Germany here in that panel, they haven't been aware of that. This is kind of a, that the employer and the employee, they split the those
Yeah, yeah,
insurances.
yeah. Maybe I could touch a bit on that. So, Chooks, just to give you some ideas, or just to mention some. So, um, well, I hear myself from your side.
Yeah, sorry, my phone was ringing.
It's okay. Uh, so I think one that you can keep in mind is minimum wage. Obviously, that you earn, they can't pay you like legally speaking below the minimum wage. So you should be aware of that. What's the minimum wage? Um, to some extent, also depending on your qualification, you also would want to check what is also like the minimum that is paid to someone with your qualification, because this also applies. If you have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, they are like class of payment that you are entitled to earn, and also how long you've been in the job market. Um, this also goes further than to the stage where you're living, and also maybe the job roles. But also, Paul already mentioned the social and health insurance, which is paid 50-50. There is also the entitlement to holiday. You cannot work 365 days or in a year, so you're entitled to holidays, so that has to be there. um, of course, getting paid at the end of the month, it's not like you work and then you don't get paid, so that should not happen. And then also, very importantly, it's also sick leave, that you also know that when you're sick, that you have the right to take sick leave. Like you are obligated to inform your employer that you are sick. uh, so different companies have different regulations around it. Some companies say you don't have to send in the sick note until 3 days, and after 3 days you have to send the sick notes. They just say the first day that you're sick, call in. Other companies says, oh, from that you call, but then make sure you send the sick note from that day. In any case, you're sick, you're entitled to take sick leave. um, and you should know that when you're sick, that your health insurance pays then your employer for the times when you're not working. Again, this is the contributions which you have made, and now it's being paid back to your employer. And then also the type of contract that you have. You should be aware that your employer cannot terminate your contract without cause, especially if you have a permanent job contract. Uh, Again, we're not going to go like into specific details, and because it would be like an endless conversations, but these are some things that you should keep in mind. Um, I see some more questions coming in, but I'm going to let Paul continue with the presentations, and then we can begin to touch on those questions. So I encourage you guys to stay tuned and listen through, and we will touch all the questions.
All right. Yeah, I was in a way continuing my presentation with those two articles: the freedom of labor and the freedom of, or not freedom, yeah, freedom of property or obligation of property, and also coming to your individual rights, emerging or resourcing in that freedom of labor. And I was also naming some here, and this is the right of non-discrimination in employment, a fair employment contract, paid leave and sick leave, and minimum wage. But you mentioned plenty of them, and I was just bringing them into the circumstances of the Article 12 in our Constitution. And you're right, we cannot go into detail here, and maybe just a practical advice or background of how you would receive more information once you see that you want to challenge your work contract or your situation you're in. Every single lawyer here, we get a very few general lawyers, generalists. Everybody specialized, and it's just about a good research, and maybe we can offer something there, like on another occasion, to really have how to research a good lawyer in that specific field, like labor law, for that example. Or also, you should be aware of the fact that we've got unions, for example, in Germany, who are also part of the social welfare state to protect the labor's rights. And I'm just missing the English term for that now, Betriebsrat. Every bigger company has a Betriebsrat. What's the English term?
Yeah, like, I think it's the labor union. I think so. It's the labor union.
Yeah, maybe it's we've got major unions and smaller unions in different working fields and also in companies, but Betriebsrat is still maybe a bit something different. But I'm not quite sure about that now. But yeah, it's like happening very often that we deal with our work contract and have to challenge it or have to have it proved by lawyers. So we cannot go in detail because it's we've got so many details there. So there's another field where we have the Constitution and Article 14, property, also impacting your individual rights, because if you go to German civil court, 50% of the cases are cases of a tenant and of a landlord having to fight for the rights of the tenant or the other way around. And that's also an influence or like a result of our social welfare state, because the property not only is to be protected, but also obligates. That's written in Article 14. So altogether, this is the source of our social tenancy law we have here in Germany to protect homelessness and also follow up like social reasons to look at the situation of a tenant and a landlord. Like, it's very difficult to find an apartment in Berlin, for example, or specifically in Berlin. But once you got a contract there and once you convinced your landlord to rent it to you, then it's almost impossible to terminate that contract. I mean, there's a lot of regulations too. Like, the longer you live in there, the longer you have to give you deadlines to leave the apartment anyways. But it's almost impossible. And what is really impossible is to force an eviction. Like, he can send you deadlines to pay your rent, and you can wait for the very last moment to pay it and be in court with him and then pay your rent. And the social tenancy law will still protect you and allow you to stay in that apartment, even though you're always late. So this is something we cannot go in detail to, because same applies here, that we got a lot of lawyers who are very firm in the tenancy law, and it's all about a good research and also to check out for other institutions, like, for example, the Mieterschutzbund, which is like a what is that?
Yeah,
It's
so
something like a union, or how would you translate that, Mike? I
yeah,
don't know. Mieterschutzbund.
it's the union for tenants, so to say. It's a union that protects tenants, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are the unions. I think it's the version of the Betriebsrats in the workplace. That's the version in tenancy, in housing. You know, people living
Anyway,
in.
I mean, at least you can Google it and you will receive free information from them. And also, they would you can make a research there on lawyers in your neighborhood who are specialized on that, and at
Mm,
least you receive free information. And yeah, that's very good to know, to have that
yeah.
awareness of those
Um,
institutions. Sorry, I'm
Paul,
having to
let's.
switch on the light. It's getting dark outside.
Yeah, that's it's getting dark on my side too, but it's okay. I think the guys can hear us. I have this question. Can you see the screen? So it's still about the welfare system, and someone is concerned that why is it that students who worked in Germany and receive Bürgergeld, when they lose jobs, risk deportation? So the question arises from a personal experience. He studied and lives in Freiburg. Um, so why student who worked in Germany? So that means you studied in Germany and then you're working and you receive Bürgergeld. Are you sure about that? And then when you lose your job, so I'm wondering at what point did you receive the Bürgergeld, and then at what point did you lose your job? And you stand the risk of deportation, in my opinion, where you don't have any engagement, so to speak, and then your residency has expired. So this is normal. If you don't have a valid residence or you don't have any engagement, then that comes in. Maybe you can um, explain a bit more your situation, Paul. I'm not sure if you understand that, and if you could touch on that.
Yeah, I'm not that firm in migration and residence law here as well. I wanted to come back to that a bit later in my presentation, but the like a non-terminated residence permit, whether that would be a Niederlassungserlaubnis, I guess that's what we might talk about here with that user from Breisgau, from Freiburg,
Yeah,
or I guess we are away from the citizenship. So maybe that's a Niederlassungserlaubnis, which is non-terminated, because every other residentship is terminated. And then, yeah, once you're receiving Bürgergeld, you are not in the best position to renew your
yeah.
title, or
Hmm.
once you want to apply or go from a terminated citizenship or residence permit to a Niederlassungserlaubnis, which is a non-determinated terminated citizenship, then the Ausländerbehörde, the migration office, will look deeper into your taxpayer's career, let's call it
Yeah.
like that.
Hmm.
And I know that from personal uh, stories, that like those 6 months, they always check your last 6 months working
Contribution.
history
Yeah.
contribution, and make that decision based on that one. So if you don't have a non-terminated citizenship and you've been receiving Bürgergeld for a certain period of time, the government is behind you and tries to understand what's going on. Are you qualified to find a job here and to become part of the system regarding that one? Because in the end of the day, we want to avoid migration to Germany with
Mhm.
no perspective of contributing into the system, but just receiving social welfare.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then again, it's the same story here again. You can prove, like, that's very important to know. The Ausländerbehörde, the migration office, there's working people, and there's working people with sometimes lower education, with the bad mood, and you can just appeal on 50%, or at least have a lawyer check on your mails from the immigration office.
Yeah.
because there's a lot of crap written in that so often.
Mhm.
And I've
Mhm.
maybe I can let you know my personal background. My wife, she's a non-European citizen, and my stepson is as well. So I have my personal experience with that. So it's
Yeah.
always important to, and this field of law is changing year by year. And even
Mhm.
I'm a lawyer, but I've got a migration or residence, what do you call it? Migration lawyer here in Berlin who's working with my cases, with my family. And he's sometimes just saying, okay, I get to go deeper into it again because the legal circumstances have changed again
Mhm.
through a new
Mhm.
government.
Oh.
So it's always important to, like, that's maybe the most important. Once you say the risk of deportation, you get to
Yeah.
find somebody who is aware of that topic and can fight against the immigration office, the Ausländerbehörde. And I feel pity for everybody who's got to go there frequently. I mean, that's like the nightmare in Germany to wait at 5 o'clock in the winter times in front of those offices. It's
Yeah.
terrible. So
Mhm.
um, I would never go there on my own personally, even though I'm a lawyer. I'm always bringing my lawyer with me who does nothing else than that. So I'm sitting there waiting and I'm calm and cool, and I know that they won't tell me like
Crap.
arbitrary nonsense. So
Yeah.
um,
Mhm. Mhm.
I
Mhm.
cannot give a proper answer on that, but yes, sure. In the end of the day, you've got to contribute into the system here and not just receive Bürgergeld, because then also the Ausländerbehörde will look deeper into your
Yeah.
future possibilities here and maybe deny your applications for long-term stay.
Yeah. 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 Okay, we continue.
Yeah, I mean, I'm almost done because I'm done with the social welfare state. I wanted to come back to the state of law and just wanted to make you briefly understand what that really means. And it only means that every governmental measurement has to be based on a specific law. So that's why you receive, like, whenever there's a measurement which would burden or charge you, we receive a lot of paperwork because they have to prove the law they're working on and give you uh, showcase you all your possibilities of appealing on it. And then
Mhm.
secondly,
Mhm.
that only does not only have to base on a law, on a specific law, but also the government has to apply that specific law. And there's so much ground to really challenge every possible governmental measurement on those two fields. And I just want to make you also aware of the fact that this is just, yeah, as I started in the beginning, this is the advantage of our legal system here. That
Mhm.
there is independent administrative courts, and you can apply on appeal on every administrative action.
Mhm.
Whether
Mhm.
that's like a day-to-day action, the police would do something to you, harm you, you can appeal on that.
Yeah.
Also on like written measurements from the government, like not denying like Bürgergeld, for example. There's
Mhm.
social
Mhm.
courts again and social law, but um, I wanted to make you aware of that, and that's where I wanted to close my circle I had here, because coming back to we had three principles like social welfare state and uh, state of law, and I started with the principle of democracy. And I just want to show you the way I thought it's working nicely in that presentation, because you as non-EU foreigners without citizenship, you won't be able to participate in the main principle of that principle, because that means you won't be able to elect here or be elected. But in case you want to do that once and join the principle of democracy, this is where we come back to the one question of the attendant here today. You've got to participate in the state of welfare. And once you participate in that, the Ausländerbehörde should finally, and it was becoming easier and easier the recent years by a new government here, should allow you to apply for citizenship. And if you participated in the social welfare state, the conditions are pretty good. And if the Ausländerbehörde would not apply, then you would have the state of law helping you in that case by appealing on that and challenging the government, and maybe in the end of the day sit here with a German passport, and with that German passport you would also be able to join on the third main principle of our legal system, which is the uh, principle of democracy. So that's my idea. I mean, that's kind of the system once you really want to establish in Germany and have a long-term residence permit, or um, um like citizenship.
Mhm.
Both request you to understand those systems, like participate and contribute into the system. And if then you can also use the state of law to fight for your right to live here forever, if you like.
Yeah, of course, of course. I think you touched a point which I also find very valid, because for every yeah, let's say for every case that you have, or every situation, when you receive the letter, they also quote which part of the law, the constitution, that it's that's that is behind this action that they are taking, so um it happens on different occasion, so for example, you apply for your residence permit, and then you get the residence permit. They will also quote which part of the, what type of residence permit you have, which paragraph in the law it is, and blah blah blah. And if it is denied, they also state the reason why it's denied, and then they also mention, okay, hey, what rights you have, and so on and so forth. So um, I think people should pay attention to the different documents which they receive. And when something happens again, um, be slow to take action. And one good thing that I appreciate is that for every situations, or in most cases, there's always this window for you to appeal, and you have to know about that. So let's take, for example, someone who loses their job. You will find out that if you are working, um, and then for whatever reason your employer decides to terminate your contract, um, don't be quick to sign anything. When you get something you don't understand, you don't have to sign. If you're under pressure to sign a document on the spot, it should make you even delay signing it. Take some time, take that document home, read through it, translate it, talk to someone who understands it before you sign anything. Because most times, once you sign, it's done because you've sealed it, it's not reversible. And this also brings me to another point, as Paul was explaining, that people that you consult with a lawyer and stuff like that. Keep in mind that sometimes it could be quite expensive to get a lawyer for certain things. So what you can do, again, coming back to the whole risk system and insurance system in Germany, what you can do for yourself is that you have a Rechtsschutzversicherung, so you get a legal insurance. And the interesting thing is it doesn't actually cost a lot. The monthly contribution, something between 10 to 15 euros every month. Now, this does not mean that you have a lawyer for every case, but what it simply means is that you can get consultation on different things. So you have a situation, your house rent is increased unnecessarily, you feel, or whatever it is, you lose your job, or someone hits your car, whatever happens to you. With this kind of insurance, you can get consultations to know what are your entitlement, what can you do, what can you not do. So this would be like the first step, and this would be, since you have this type of insurance, then for free. I would encourage especially people who are working, because I see that majority of the foreigners living in Germany, or at least our target audience, they are professionals that are working in different fields. Definitely you should take an Arbeitsschutzversicherung. You have to take that. So it's insurance that protects you, that if something happens at your workplace, this is really important. And again, it won't cost you so much for the monthly contribution compared to what you would have to pay when there's a situation that you want to challenge. So again, take that general consultation insurance, and then take also the next one, which actually entitles you to getting a lawyer to work on the case. There are, of course, different types of insurance. I think by the time you get all of them, you spend so much money, but you
Yeah.
can actually just pick. Maybe, Paul, you could touch on the important insurance that you feel like, okay,
Yeah,
hey,
I
you
just
should have?
want to like to add one, which is, in my opinion, is yeah, covering a very low risk, but in case that risk will realize, then this insurance will save your life. Because imagine you, whatever can happen. You've got a party in your place where you live in your apartment going on, and somebody leaves a cigarettes just or one burning cigarette on the table or whatever, but you set that apartment on fire. Within a couple of minutes or 30 minutes, you've got a damage. You can see that all over the place. There are fires. You've got a damage of 2-3 million euros because the whole building would be on fire. And I mean,
Yeah.
a whole apartment complex in central Berlin is not just 3 million, it's 80 million euros. And you would be liable for this on your personal, on the rest of your life. And
Mhm.
uh, liability insurance covers all of that. So the liability insurance is maybe the most important insurance in my opinion. I'm
Yeah.
having myself one. I also have to have professions liability insurance, once I would cause damage to one of my clients. That could be also huge damage. So this is another mandatory insurance, like
Mhm.
Berufshaftpflichtversicherung. That's
Yeah.
for many
Yeah.
different professions, like
Mhm.
profession
Mhm.
liability insurance. I don't know the English term, but that's just the extended version of a simple liability insurance, Haftpflichtversicherung in German, and also the fees for this are just not mentionable or not
Yeah.
really high. So this
Mhm.
is one part where I wanted to add something, and maybe because you've been talking about like a contract with your employer, where you should remain silent for a certain while. Don't You should not sign nothing before you're not really having a consultation with an expert,
Yeah.
and that's something I just throughout the years I discovered again and again. And whenever I'm in touch with the police or I'm confronted with the police because there was a small car accident or whatever, that police will always try to make you explain what happened. But you, even though you're 100% sure you
Yeah.
haven't been guilty, you should stay just silent and say, no, I want to remain silent. That's just one advice.
Yeah.
Like there are different occasions when you're talking about like, uh, I just had a car accident with my opponent was driving to my car, and I've seen this is just such a little damage. So, but he still wanted to call the police and make that with the insurances. I told him, no, I don't mind about that. I see the damage is so minimal. Forget about it. But he wanted to have the police on board, and they
Yeah.
came. And he was explaining, I was explaining. I was not remaining silent in that moment. But the more uh, grave it appears, the whole circumstances you're in, whatever, would that be a crime scene or like a um, yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Only the well, it's, right now I'm losing it. I mean, you understand what I mean? It
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
harm
Yeah.
you. It's not meaning the
I got
police cannot take it wrongly. They cannot say through your silence you admit your guilt. That's just not working this way in Germany. And you can only say the wrong things. Everything you say in a conversation with the police is can only be for your disadvantage. There cannot be nothing good. That's just
So I guess in this case, that's the right to remain silent, right? Because you don't have to say something. You can remain silent until you have a legal person there, to explain it and then they speak on your behalf. So this is also something very important. I think in a nutshell, it's more just to understand that, hey, for different situations when you're not sure about something, you do not have to act immediately. Always seek consultation, because in many occasions there are things could actually turn out nicely in your favor, but if you just act at the spot without really thinking things through, at the end of the day you find out that, okay, hey, you could have actually worked in your favor had you just exercised some patience.
yeah.
um, so we are gradually coming to the end of today's talk. But before we close, I would like to also, make an announcement. And by the way, you must have seen all over, this event is organized and sponsored by Settling. I am the co-founder of Settling, and Settling is a free social media platforms that connect and informs people about migration. That's what it is at the top. But what is actually meant in practice is a focused platform where you can actually make meaningful conversation, make meaningful connections, and get information about your location, precisely in Germany. So what we are speaking about here, and many other things which are related to your life in Germany, whether you're already living here, you're about to come to Germany, you want to establish yourself here. So these and many more things are what is happening on Settling. Paul and I, we work very closely. Paul is a close advisor to Settling, and being a platform that is focused on solving various migration related challenges. I think when Paul introduced himself, he didn't talk about his other background or his other side, which is being a football coach or trainer for over 10 years now. So together with all our experience in the migration space, we also discovered another path where we can actually provide relevant solutions to people, and this is in the area of football, in the area of soccer. As you can imagine, there's a great pool of talent from Africa, and as people who are passionate about the migration space to help continue to solve migration related challenges, and coupled with his experience as a football coach and also a lawyer, we came together also to form the platform called Scoring. And I would just let Paul talk briefly on Scoring, and so we can wrap up the show for today. But the point is, we will have another event in a couple of weeks, maybe 4 to 5 weeks from now, where we will tell you more about Scoring and yeah, what you can look forward to from us. Paul?
Yeah, I don't have to add too much. I mean, you've been describing this situation or the possibility to combine your expertise in migration and maybe slightly mine with my personal and professional background and my profession as a football trainer here in Berlin since, as you said, over 10 years. And during that time, I've seen a lot of talents from with an African background and also have experienced how difficult it is to establish here as a football player once you're a newcomer in Germany and how difficult it is to get here. And we with Scoren also want to combine our expertise in a manner that we say you should not, once you're still living in abroad, you should not come to Europe or Germany to only have the dream of becoming a footballer, but you should also have a plan B. And this is where we want
Yeah.
to consultate those people to say, okay, what are your further career options in Germany? And once you follow that path, you can also focus on your possibilities as a maybe as a professional footballer. And this is where we are using my network then in that moment and my expertise to introduce them um, to the best club we can offer him and all the players at that very moment, if that's a youth player in the academies of the professional football clubs, or just starting on a lower level as an adult player here in one of the lower leagues and see whether they might come up to professional football one day. But it's a very interesting and new field we're working on, and we're making our first steps. And I'm in contact with several players now and facing different challenges to do the proper consultants and agents work for them.
Yeah. So, guys, we're rounding up in a few minutes. I'd like to thank everyone from wherever you're watching. Um, Again, Settling Connect and informs you about migration. Our goal is to see that foreigners living in Germany, that you get the right information about your situation here, and you know what to do. And there is a source that you can go and find meaningful information, but more importantly, connect with like-minded people. And we're excited about our next brand, which is coming up, Scoring. You can already think about the name, how they sound similar. Um, I feel excited about it because, for sure, when we think about the talent pool in Africa, I'm sure everyone who comes from Africa here can relate to what we are speaking about. And if you are also someone who loves football, you love soccer, when you watch it, you can also see, the pool of talent on track. And if you look around, also, if you're living in Germany already, I'm sure you must have come encountered one or two people who have dreams of becoming professional footballers, but whatever happens to them, we have no idea. And then these did not happen. Uh, we want to see that we're able to use our network, our experience, across the migration space, the law, as well as also experience in football and the networking, to see that these dreams of the people can come back to life. So visit scoring.com. It's with a double N to find out more information. And stay tuned. You will also, hear from us when we launch. We will have a session like this.
Okay.
Great. So,
Thanks for your
Paul,
patience.
any final words before we wrap it up for the evening?
Yeah, I guess I already had my final words. Thanks for your patience regarding a topic which is, yeah, a dry one. Once you're looking at it like this, once you're fighting for your rights and you're winning in court, then it's a nice topic. But just like theoretically, it's a pretty dry topic. And I thank you for your patience to listen to me, and I hope you, uh, yeah, enjoyed that a little bit at least.
Great. Okay, everybody. Thank you once more. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to share it on your profile, and stay connected. If you're new to Settling, be sure to visit settling.com, create an account, sign up, and we will see you again some other time soon. Bye for now.
Bye bye. Ciao.
Ciao.